welcome to the TAT.
I'm Eddie.
Yes, and for those who've realised it's books and have gone, goodbye. But any of those still with us, we are going to greet you with my book collection, my classics.
Yeah.
And what I really wanted to really show off is not just the titles that I have, but also the actual quality of the books that I possess. I possess what is known as the Knickerbocker Collection. And I could bring in, this is the Jules Verne Essential Collection, and feel that.
Oh, that's actually really
all
nice.
of these are hardback books, tomes even, with all of the literary classics, each one uniquely designed with an amazing kind of felt finish. The binds really do not break, essentially, or at least because of the way it's designed on the side there, you'll never visually see a break in the spine. They all come with these amazingly golden bookmarks tied in. These ones here are flexi bound because they're smaller titles, each with the own unique design, and again a slight fabric to them if you want to feel that. It's just slightly different to the tones.
Really nice, yeah.
Almost like another way of doing them. I wouldn't really know the details of it. And this is amazing. My history of books is legendary. It's gone down in mythos, and a book has been written about it. Which is quite ironic. So I love all the classics. I used to read a lot when I was a kid. Not as much as I would have liked, but I always loved writing and literature. I've written a few things myself, and I'm very honest with writing. I do not like long descriptive texts. Like, please tell me the scene. Tell me what the characters look like. Tell me anything important in terms of action or events, but please do not spend 200 fucking pages telling me about how smelly a dog was. That is only going to be relevant for like one piece of dialogue.
Words just for words.
It might be because I'm a scriptwriter predominantly, although I have written novellas. I do emphasise on action and dialogue. But I can also appreciate very good, well-written stories when I see them. And sometimes things can be a hard read, and I'm not going to shy away from hard reads. But that also means I'm also going to be very honest about the fact that it is a hard read. Some of these you'll know, some of these you might have heard of, some of these you may never have heard of. You may have heard of the author, but maybe not the story. So we're just going to have a look through, and I'll show off some of the great designs here. Eddie, what's your history with reading? You have much?
Well, I learned to read when I was a child, and that's pretty much my history with books. To be honest, I've never been one. Unfortunately, I've never been one to read for fun.
Right.
So I've got 4 siblings. 3 of those absolutely love losing themselves in books. My cousin is a very big reader. My dad is exactly the same. So they're all people that can just sit there for hours and read a book. I think I just can't do it unless I'm on holiday, unless it's something particularly of interest. I've read a few books about. Essentially my reading as an adult is boiled down to rockstar autobiographies and books about human evolution. So
interesting.
I've never been one for fiction. Unfortunately, for some reason, I just can't get on board with it.
We both read Richard Dawkins, I've seen it.
We have, yeah. So anything that's any sort of non-fiction, if it's sort of subjects that I'm interested in, I can sort of get on board with. But my attention span is too low to sit there for hours.
That's something I've struggled with as an adult is time. And books do take time. Even audiobooks. So like sometimes I'm like, I'll listen to the audiobook instead, and it's like 7 hours long.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, where am I going to find the time if we read 7 hours? Like putting an actual time on it makes it seem like, like if I stop listening at a certain point, I'm going to lose it. With a book, I could stop myself. It's like if I get distracted, well, it doesn't carry on without me. So audiobooks I find really difficult, and also I don't do anything passive that I'm not already trying to listen or focus on. Definitely somebody who likes to focus on one thing at a time. But that's also a great thing, is what books do, is they allow you to just go into a world. I think it's quite meditative.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to really shut off. It is not a passive thing. You have to actively focus. You need to be creative. You need to take in what is happening and understand it. A lot of things happen in reading that I think can be translated to video games. In a way. Video games are very active. Same thing. You've got to concentrate. You've got to put in actions. You've got to understand what he's asking of you at any given moment. You've got to make decisions, or the decision making in video game in split second is the same way that you picture the words and understand them and form them in your mind. And I think it's a really great way of expressing creativity.
Yeah.
You will be surprised the osmosis that happens from just reading a good book.
Mm.
You will pick up little distinct things from languages that, in your own language, that you may not even have realised. Like I grew up reading Terry Pratchett, and I would say that a lot of the way I talk sometimes, or maybe not just references, but just like certain words or phrases that I use, have been influenced by that. And I'd even think like, where did I hear that? I heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
Of course, it always goes back to the same places.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So let's take a look at some of these. We'll start off with one of the classics here, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I love the green texture, bubble and thing. It's quite odd for Frankenstein to have this bubble texture, but it also just seems right because
the
green is
I
what we
think,
associate with it now. But yeah, any history with the book? Seen the films?
I've seen the films. I'm very familiar with the story, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think we may have read it as a child, sort of just in passing. A few of these I recognise from being read as a child, but the story it's a fantastic concept. I think it's probably the first, maybe one of the first anything. Books or anything about the undead, I think, as well, brings them back to life. I think, and how big that's come just from one book. You know, everyone knows who Frankenstein is. Yeah, and Frankenstein's a monster as well. There you go. And then anything that sort of stemmed from that. This how long? When did this come out?
It was 1800. So maybe it's publishing date inside. You're asking for details I do not know. I know roughly. Let's see, originally printed. I think they left that in. She was born in 1797, married in 1801.
So you get a bit of history of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say, early to mid 1800s then, so nearly 200 years ago. And it's a story known by huge amounts of people in the world, and has been since
early 1800s.
Early 1800s, nearly 200 years.
Yeah, because it says here as we approach the 200th anniversary.
There you go, that would help.
So I think it was around 1813 or something like that.
Yeah, so imagine having a legacy. You wrote one story, and 200 years later, it's still known by so many people.
Unfortunately, the interpretations on screen do miss out a large portion of this. I do know that there was a version with actually Robert De Niro playing Frankenstein.
Really?
Aware of this. It was called Mary Shelley. It was Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
They actually made Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Robert De Niro as the monster.
Wow. Okay.
I would watch it. It is probably the most faithful adaptation I've seen. It's not the best interpretation I've seen, but it's the most accurate. It's fun, but not a lot of people know it. It's really odd.
I would never know
Frankenstein with Robert De Niro, and not a lot of people know it. I think it came out around 1994 or 5. It was after Stoker. As Dracula. But there you go.
There you go. That is it. I did not know that at all.
Speaking of Dracula, here it is. Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is one of my favourites of the collection.
That is a really nice design as well, and you can tell it's very much Dracula. It is.
Yeah, it's got that gothic style with the blood red attached to it. See,
they look a bit like the roses as well. And there's always been a sort of Dracula's been very much tinged with beauty and things as well. It's quite a seductive character.
It's seductive. That's very true. A lot of people look at it as it's a vampire, and vampires just go around sucking blood for preservation. I suppose that's very true. So they act as predators, but they don't. They don't really act in the same way a wolf would act.
No, absolutely.
It's not animal instincts that drives them. It's the idea of humanity. Like, if you are a human and you must prey on others, there's con merchants, right? But what do con merchants do? They lull you into a false sense of security. So the same way that happens here, his target is virginal blood. So he seduces them, so he becomes very charming. And every aspect of him is kind of catered towards that seduction.
It almost is like there's sort of elements I always find that he doesn't necessarily want to do it because obviously grappling with the fact that he has to kill these people to survive, as well. That's why maybe delayed.
It's weird how it started as Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah,
and then
it is. I don't think you can get the two different characters really, because they're so different.
Christopher Lee and all those that have done it on screen, and it's like, how do you get from fucking Vlad the Impaler?
Yeah.
I actually do like Bram Stoker's Dracula with he's Commissioner Gordon in one of the Batman films. What's his name? I forget.
I'm just thinking of what's his name, the British guy, Michael Caine.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not him,
that's
is
Alfred,
it?
yeah.
Hello, I'm Dracula. Gary
Oldman.
Oh,
Gary
yeah,
Oldman. I actually did quite like that version. I don't think it's the best version. It's Francis Ford Coppola that directed that. I think it's great, but the classics are the best ones. I do think Christopher Lee was probably the best Dracula for me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like the original like 1930s Universal ones, but
Can't really go wrong, Christopher Lee as well.
mm,
Are they true to the book?
my honest opinion, no.
No.
Bram Stoker's Dracula is a little bit more to it, with Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
The
yeah,
problem is
yeah.
Keanu Reeves, who was not a great actor, like he wasn't. Like
No.
you might look at him now, you like the action films, and that's probably more suited to him. But him doing a dramatic interpretation of Dracula, he still looked like he was in fucking Bill and Ted.
Yeah,
It's like, whoa,
Excellent, dude.
yeah. Whoa, what's this?
Totally gonna bite your neck,
Totally
man.
excellent. Yeah. Anyway, let's get Bram Stoker's Dracula. Here's a little note on Beowulf, translated by John Earl. So Beowulf is probably more well known now thanks to the film that came out, which was all CGI, which had Ray Winston, I believe, in it.
Oh,
in
really?
the title role. Yeah, but I think it was, and a lot of people thought it was someone else at the time, because it's CGI. He's obviously an old guy, but he looks much younger because it's CGI.
Of course,
so a lot of people
yeah.
knew it was him. But this is derived from old Nordic tale. Are you familiar with that?
No, my brother and sister were big fans of this book when I was growing up,
Oh,
so I know
right,
the
okay.
name, but I could not tell you anything about it, unfortunately.
The design is quite well. It reminds me a bit of The Shining.
Yeah.
But you can see the kind of Nordic influence on that design. I think. I mean, it's just, I don't know why, but it gives off that vibe. There's not much to say about Beowulf, because I do remember playing the video game to the film and getting fucking frustrated at it.
Were they
It's
true
really
to the
taken.
books? I'd imagine probably not.
Okay, so actually I haven't read all of these, so I've got the collection, but I've not read all these. I've never read Beowulf itself. I heard it's well, from what I remember, I was told it was a fairly hard read, but I think it looks pretty easy for me, so maybe I've read it wrong. I wouldn't say there was anything in it that was, maybe it's a translation, I don't know.
Yeah, because the languages are very different, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
But
there'll be
nevertheless,
phrases and things that won't commute.
Yeah, Beowulf is a very much classic. Here we've got Tarzan of the Apes and the Return of Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. A lot of people know the Disney film.
Yeah.
I love the Disney film. I think it's actually one of the best Disney films. I love this.
It's really nice.
Love this design. I love Tarzan. I've only read a few of these, a few chapters of these. This isn't all the Tarzan ones. There are a few others. Do you know? This is not very well known, but you know Godzilla.
Yeah.
They keep making fucking films of Godzilla. It's one of the longest running franchises with the most entries in it.
Yeah.
Tarzan is up there at like number 2 or 3 for having the most films about him. And I know
Really?
it's like, well, I never see fucking films of Tarzan except for the Disney one. They're out there. There was fucking loads of them in the 70s and the 80s. They just kept churning them out.
Wow.
But yeah, it's crazy.
I would never have guessed that, actually.
Yeah.
It's quite
So-
a nice concept, though. I like the sort of the nurturing element and the fact that
Yeah.
he's friends with his fellow primates. I'm a big fan of that.
I think it's ahead of its time.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
really is. I think today the environmental aspect of it is very much like messaging is very much.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are animals. We are ones.
Yeah,
we can,
that's
you know,
really important to know
our
that
brethren, you know.
the differences are minimal. We are all the same.
Mhm.
As you can see, obviously he acts and behaves exactly how the other apes do. So
Yeah.
everyone remember that.
Yes, exactly. The message is here. And here we've got the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
This was one that my mum. I don't remember. I don't know too much about it. I can't remember too much. This and Tom Sawyer. My mum read to us as children.
But actually, that's a really good one. Here we go.
Hey, there you
The
go.
Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Both of these Mark Twain. if I recall correctly, Mark Twain had a lot of. Probably these books are very dated.
Yes,
and the language
Yes,
is
very much
rather of its time, let's say, and not quite as politically correct anymore. I love the designs of these. You've got the main like a Huckleberry Finn, and this sort of, I didn't really quite understand. This is probably one of the worst ones. Just like I don't quite understand what they were going for with this.
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
Nevertheless,
Flowers.
there they both are. Yeah, there they both are. So you've got small tales within. I don't think they have dated that well. I think if you've got nostalgia for them, that's great. I don't think as an adult I can get much from them.
No.
Unfortunately, they're really more here for sake of their
They
classics
are,
as part of the collection. Unfortunately, I could try it. Maybe I need to give them another go. But I know that his stories are kind of. If you did have them as a kid, because I've got here. Oh, they have to be at the bottom, don't they? Oh, there we go. I have here the complete Greek tales there. I love this. There's illustrations throughout that are absolutely beautiful.
These are the fairy tales, aren't they?
Yep.
Where all of the modern tales stem from.
Absolutely.
And are they? Is it true they're a lot darker than they are as we're told them now?
Yes, they are. Wow. More and more so. I've even got the fairy tales of Hans Christian Andersen here as well. You're absolutely right. They are much darker than everything. The illustrations are fantastic. It's like tones. They're absolutely brilliant. There's stuff like was it the Tinderbox I read? Do you remember? I read the Tinderbox.
You did.
Yeah. Yeah. Why did we do that? Were you just cooking at the time?
I think I was. That's exactly what was happening.
Yeah. And the Little Mermaid, I read that recently as well, and that was just it was so much darker.
Yeah, it is a surprise. It's nice learning them as a children, and like the standard PG versions. Then you realise where they were from, and then okay, I can see why they changed this to tell kids. Then what they used to tell kids, back in the time.
This is
the
War of the
Worlds.
The Time Machine and The Invisible Man. These are classics by H.G. Wells.
Yep.
Great science fiction writer.
War of the Worlds are my favourite concepts. Just a brilliant story.
I think that I would recommend these highly for any sci-fi fan.
Yeah.
All of these are fantastic. The Invisible Man is wonderful for. It's a real human story at the heart of it. It really tests your patience with the character. I felt like it's really hard to empathise with him.
Oh really?
Yeah, like 'cause he's a really bitter individual. In the book, not like in the film. In the film he is sort of like in the classic films he sort of is, but he's kind of turning into an anti-hero. In this one he is horrible.
Not good. I suppose is always that sort of ethical thing. If you're invisible, would you still be good? Because ultimately you have a lot of power then, don't you?
True. He was a bastard.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
The War of the Worlds Time Machine though are just fucking classics, and if you've seen any science fiction in the last fucking 25 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years on the big screen, they owe a lot to these because it's essentially where it all starts.
I love the concept, the fact that they were there waiting. I really, just like that. This is it's an alien invasion as you see all over the place, but it was one that was planned a long time ago, and I like the build up to that, and it's like they just come up from underneath and then they're here, and it's like, oh my god, what are we supposed to do? Didn't see it coming at all.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy plays off that quite a bit. Where we'll come to invade now. They're like, what's this about? And they're like, well, I'm sorry, we had the blueprints in the office.
There you go.
You could have went down there. It's just past the Ursa Minor. You could have seen them. We're building an interspace highway, so we're blowing them out of the way.
I love the design of the tripods. And one thing I just noticed about the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
There is a spelling mistake.
Oh shit! I have never noticed the fact that it says the Invisible Man.
Invisible.
Invisible Man. So there it is. It's actually a spelling mistake on that. Look.
It's an invisible eye.
Yeah. Oh shit. But they didn't do it on the bind.
That'll be a rarity. It might be the only copy that's happened to a printing error.
That's crazy. Why do they do that? Holy shit! How do they get past the things? Oh no, my collection is incomplete. It's missing an eye. Here we have the Legend of Sleepy Hollow and other stories.
Yeah.
I've been actually reading the other stories first, and they're pretty cool. I quite like the Washington Irvine here. Not very well known, but Sleepy Hollow's kind of
It is,
become a
yeah.
little more notoriety. The other stories in there, just see if there's anything you might know. Rip Van Winkle, you might have heard that. The Voyage. That's pretty much it. There's not really much anything else in there. That's kind of Little Britain.
Little Britain.
Yeah, I know. Here we have.
I tried to get on Amazon, but the computer said no.
Hey.
Oh, this is a classic as
Herman
well.
Melville, Moby Dick, one of the hardest reads I've ever
Yeah.
tried to get through. I talk about long descriptive text. Like, it's worthwhile when you get into it. Sort of.
It's not the biggest of stories, I think, so maybe it was padded.
I find it very difficult to get. It was a slog, and
Yeah.
I know it's beautifully written. I know it's a must for anyone who loves literature, but I did actually struggle through this. I'm not afraid to admit it. It did. I just felt like there was nothing to really care about for a long time. Yeah, it was difficult. But it's Moby Dick is weird, right? He was known for being the quintessential book. Like it's well known as being like one of the best novels of all time, if not the best. It's like anyone who loves it, as I said, probably should have read it or knows about it or knows how good it is. Never got any much of adaptation.
No, that's true actually. What is the story of Moby Dick, really?
It's basically about a guy's hunt for a whale, but it's more of an allegory for one achieving.
Because I was thinking, it's not really something that I suppose it can't translate well, because there's no sort of, obviously not a nice pursuit, is it? So, it's, I'm going to go kill a whale, oh, okay. Tell me more.
You could argue that it's probably been told in a different manner, in a better way. But, also, the word dick in it.
And Moby, fucking any techno fans in the house back in the day.
The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde.
Oh yeah.
That's a classic. It's okay. I think if you are looking for horror, probably stick clear.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a drama. It's Oscar Wilde is known as a horror writer. He wrote very well. He wrote a lot of brilliant plays, but he wrote about humanity. He wrote about people, about the social situations that they were in, and presented it to. Even if it was a farce, like there was always something to be gained from what he was writing, even if it was in humour. The Picture of Dorian Gray is very much in that same vein, but it has been horrified by modern
media. It has. It got ties with a lot of sort of horror themes and stuff.
Yeah.
It does pop up places you wouldn't really expect.
I would say it is more of a very poignant drama, and one that's very much worth looking into. I wouldn't say you necessarily have to read the book. I think there are many interpretations of this that you could go to. I would just steer clear of any that have painted it as an ultimate horror. Try to find an interpretation of it that is ultimately faithful to the work. Even if you see a play version of it, you'll get the benefit from it because it is rather poignant and it tells a real good character piece that you can't help but kind of follow along and get invested in. So I did recommend it.
I suppose obviously drama I think equates to a lot more. I suppose it can be quite stressful looking as he ages. Look, all of a sudden you need to protect this picture at all costs because then it's.
I've noticed that the genre of drama tends to always be a reflection on ourselves. It's always a character piece or about a set of characters. When we look at drama, we don't like, you know, an action film is going to have guns and like action scenes and fights and stuff like that. You know, comedy will have ridiculous scenes that's going to make you laugh and not really make much sense. Science fiction is going to have abstract concepts and out there ideas, and horror is going to be gory and gratuitous, and like a thriller is going to be suspenseful, and they're going to play with your mind a bit. But a drama will do none of those things.
True.
It will just tell you a story about humanity, ultimately, or an allegory for humanity. And there's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Stories, and this is actually what I'm reading now by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Oh, how are you finding it?
Huh?
How are you finding it?
I found it over there when I keep the books. No, it's okay. It's not what you'd expect. I actually thought this was going to be a little bit more horror.
Again, it is always portrayed as that, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's unlike the Invisible Man kind of tells a science fiction story. This tells the story of a man in conflict with his persona.
Yeah.
And I love it because I'm loving it at the moment just because I can familiarise with that concept. When it gets a bit out there, it's fine, but it's never ultimately horrific in any way. I do love the texture of it. It's rather subtle, but there's a weird beehive thing going on, which I felt is not really needed. I actually quite like just the tone of the green and the red, because it's quite contrasting of the Jekyll and Hyde character, but it's got this weird grid effect to it. But other than that, if you look at it at distance, I think you see it on the camera, you wouldn't really make out the grid.
Is it essentially a scientist who creates a potion or something, and he then battles with an evil self or an alter ego or something?
It's the ultimate. Have you ever played this kind of video games? I've noticed. And a lot of video games, you always face your darker self.
Oh yeah.
I think
Shadow You or something.
The same like in Zelda. I've seen it in Silent Hill. In pretty much everything. There's always
quite a common thing. Yeah.
A dark version or a shadow version of yourself.
Yeah,
that basically comes to this. It's the conflict of one's own inner neuroses being manifested, and you must conquer it. And light prevails.
Yeah. A 21st century version is The Nutty Professor.
There you go.
There you go. If you don't want to read the book, watch The Nutty Professor.
Nutty Professor. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll.
It's the artwork instantly you can tell what it's about.
Absolutely.
Straight away. The purple and the blue, the squiggles.
I 100%. Feel, and this might be controversial, that this, like The Wizard of Oz, is, and Willy Wonka, is ruined in book form because of outstanding films.
Yeah.
I find it would be very difficult to read these now without thinking of the imagery of.
I suppose that's true. They're all very out there, aren't they? And they rely on a lot of just wild sets and wild creatures. And if you could see them, then I don't think you'd be able to imagine something different. You'll just see them straight away. So I suppose it takes away that sort of element of wonder. And
I have to say that these books are not ultimately that long, right? They're divided into chapters. They're not that long. They're kind of short books. But I found myself reading this recently and going, get on with it. Genuinely, because you feel like it goes from like one set to another of strange stuff, but they go on way too long.
Oh, right.
Even though it's a short book, and there's a lot of repetition. And I didn't quite understand, because I understand the allegory of Alice in Wonderland, like the metaphorical idea of it, but I didn't understand why they kept going on and on, just back and forth without going anywhere. And then it finally moves on. You're like, thank fuck for that. But yeah, it is a classic. I just think that it's a shame that you always want a great adaptation, but when time goes on, people forget that it's source, and I feel like the source actually suffers from it.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, I never even thought of it that way before.
The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. I've not read this. I've never even seen the film.
It's a tale of one balding man's last haircut.
Pretty close. I believe it's a war.
Are they arrowheads as well?
Yeah, I think Native American. Right?
Yeah.
I think it was. I've never read it or seen the films or anything, so I don't know. much about it. I got it because it was part of the Knickerbocker Collection. It was the only one I didn't have. It was the last one I got because I didn't know it.
I'll be honest, I don't think I want to read it because I know it's going to end sadly. Because it's Native Americans, you know. Yeah, it was
the last samurai.
There you go. And also Native Americans in general, you know, it did not work out well for them, unfortunately. And I know any tale is going to have a sad ending.
King Arthur.
There you go.
I love this.
Look at that. That
King
is
Arthur. King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. This is the best tome I own. I went to show this one off first. It's got that black texture. It's fucking amazing.
Oh, that is nice.
Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone and anvil is rightwise king born of all England.
Yeah, try saying that 3 times quick. You know, that is...
Whoso but also, just look inside, right? You've got these wonderful illustrations.
Yeah, you do.
Look at these. Absolutely fucking amazing. Text is rather small. That is, but like they wanted to squeeze it all into one tome. So, is it a slog to read? It is somewhat, and it does go places that I don't care about. I talked about long descriptive text being annoying. Sometimes you go from chapter to chapter and have a really good one, and then you get into something that's fucking droll, and you're like, get on with the good stuff again. But it is highly rewarded. Watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail if you want to summarise, but otherwise read it. It's fantastic. It's been it's Thomas Mallory, of course. It's poetic, it's beautiful, and it tells a classic tale that has been told time and time again. And this was one of the originals. It's absolutely fantastic.
It was from Cornwall as well. I visited the place. I can't remember exactly where in Cornwall. Underneath, there's a waterfall there, and you go underneath, there's a little cave, and that's supposedly where Merlin was born, which is quite an interesting thing.
That's fucking awesome.
So yeah, it's nice. It's I suppose a British tale as well. You know, it's not too far away.
It's magic. Merlin. So anyway, the Divine Comedy by Dante.
Which isn't the story completely different to a comedy? Isn't it quite dark?
It is. Very dark indeed.
7 Layers of Hell, is this correct?
Yep. One's Journey Through Hell. Again, beautifully illustrated with some of the most horrific drawings I've ever seen.
Yeah, macabre. Look at that.
It's all told in prose.
Actually, they are quite haunting.
They are. They really are. Just really dark and foreboding illustrations. It's all here. It's absolutely fantastic. I've read through this once, but all the way through. I've started it several times. Its language is hard, but ultimately it is classic, and you'll know a lot of it because we derived a lot of language and stuff. Well. This again is something that it's the original. It's just you've seen it so many times in all the stories you've seen since. Like without King Arthur, you wouldn't have Star Wars.
No, absolutely.
Right, and stuff like that. With this, a lot of modern horror or Carl Jung's journey, the hero's journey, again, kind of comes from the. When you look at the psyche of the hero's journey, one's trip into hell could be seen as one's trip into a psyche.
Of course,
hell. So I mean, if you could take this as almost a literal thing and look at it as one's delve into one's own mental state.
I think it's the first time it was actually put into the book, I suppose, as well. I think a lot of people from
fucking
this,
funny.
It is very funny. But I think if you look at a lot of sort of modern depictions of hell, I think they derive very much from the book as opposed to anything else. You know, so I think that's quite interesting as well.
Dickens.
Get your Dickens here. Wow, that is an absolute beast of a book.
Yeah, it is, and this is the Essential Collection. It's not all of them.
Only the essentials. You know, I never leave home without it.
What you get in here is you get Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol, A Tale of Two Cities, and Great Expectations.
Okay, so are those expectations met within the book? Is there an amusing twist towards the end?
I got it, yes. I was going to say, well, there is an Oliver Twist in it. You won't see coming. But no, it's more of a tale of two cities, and they come together and tell a wonderful Christmas carol, whoever she is. And the thing is about Dickens is that I love him.
Yeah.
I want to have
Hey,
his
good to you.
babies.
One is Dickens.
I want his Dickens in me, and I genuinely love his work. I love the way he writes. I have been heavily influenced by. I don't know why I'm just showing off words. So they're not illustrations. It's just the tales, and it's very influential to me. His works. It's strange that I made a connection with Dickens rather than anyone else. I know Dickens is just like a staple of British literature. It really is. But the characterisation, when Dickens puts a character in there, it is so well thought out, so well that it comes easy to the mind. And I don't know if it's because I'm British, or we are British, that we can kind of picture British stereotypes that we have met, or can imagine them from what we've seen from British culture.
Yeah.
And Dickens takes these wonderful characters. He writes women very, very well.
Okay.
And you can really just bring them to life so much easier. I've had such an easy read. There's so much I haven't got that I wish they included in here, but they have got some the major ones. And I don't think you could go wrong. Do you know, I've been talking about like doing grim tales and doing the old Rick Mail kind of thing. I would love to do a Dickens play, just like read through the book and do a play version of it, and just sort of like I already did a bit of A Christmas Carol, but that was a little bit of tongue in cheek. But literally just kind of go through it bit by bit. I would just love to recreate any Dickens novel, or just do a one-man play on it. It would be amazing.
Yeah, you could do it, because most people are going to know the story at least.
Exactly,
maybe if they've not read the book, they will know the the elements of the story.
It is the toughest read I own. The Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. If you're not aware of this, it's one of the oldest novellas novels written. But I say novel, but it's kind of playing with some truths, I suppose, in a way. Very influential of his time that he lived in, but obviously it's the tale of the gods as well.
Yeah, I was going to say. So I've heard the name. I'm not familiar with the concept of the story.
Yeah, it's pretty much where we derive a lot of the Greek mythos from, and one of the most sought after sources for it. It's really tough read for me. I was trying to describe this to my mother. She can't understand the simplest of things. I don't know what I was doing.
We need to explain like I'm 5. Go on.
But I love the design of this. The figure in it is rather. I don't know what he's doing.
He's very hunched over, isn't he?
I don't know if he's
old?
Impaled. I don't know if he's holding that, or if he's been impaled by it.
Yeah.
And of course you can see the Trojan horse there. Yeah. That comes from the.
Of course. Is that from
Odyssey?
him?
Yeah, from the Odyssey. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, again, it's kind of like taking real world history to some degree, or tales that were told and getting them onto into a book form.
Gotcha.
It's basically just survived and outlived all the others. Sort of thing. Here's one for Meatloaf, because he's a priest. Don't know if he's got this far in the video. The complete fiction of H.P. Lovecraft.
Hey.
We're not going to say the name of his cat, but I love.
For the best. Is that Emperor Cthulhu on the back by chance?
It is him.
All hail his reign of darkness.
This is one of the only covers that is actually unique to the artist.
Yeah.
Because they clearly made it very Lovecraftian.
It's very distinctive. Yeah.
You've got everything in here. The novels, the novellas, and the short stories. It's all there.
His impact on horror is, and a lot of games, I think, as well. Horror games. Is you can't really go many places without seeing sort of designs in that sort of idea.
I think Meatloaf may agree with me. I don't know, because I know he loves H.P. Lovecraft, but I find Lovecraft to be very hit and miss. I think that eldritch horror, when it delves into the idea of insanity, is great. When it comes to visually trying to be horrifying, I think it always misses the mark.
Think it tries too hard?
I think it, like the idea of gargantuan beasts or fish people, isn't that horrifying once you kind of I don't know.
Do you think it was written? Because I imagine it would have been scary when it was first conceived.
Yes.
I suppose,
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
And I suppose now we're essentially spoiled for that sort of stuff.
Desensitised
Yeah,
to
that's
stuff,
the word. Yeah.
Very much so. I don't find it all that scary, but I love the aspects where it goes into the psychological aspects and the effect of these images have on one's psyche. So I love following the characters in these stories very closely, but the ultimate the horror isn't really there for me. They are more thrillers. Yeah. And the idea of gargantuan beasts and deities is not all that scary. I think maybe it's because I don't know if they've Godzilla scary or any of those.
I think for me, I think the bigger the thing, the less sort of scary they are. I think because they're sort of. I think it's scary if they're small. They're sort of human size, maybe human form as well.
You might have a chance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's more flexible. If this thing's massive, I'm just trying to dead.
So
I can't beat it.
There you go.
They
just give up. Yeah. But if it's smaller, more mobile, and you've got more unpredictability, I think as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole artwork of Bloodborne was very heavily inspired by
absolutely.
Every single
everywhere,
bit of it is, and I'm very thankful for him existing just for that game, if anything else.
The complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm going to say that again. The complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, not Arthur Conan. I've read this maybe about twice through.
Really?
I love it. I love Sherlock Holmes so much. He does not use he uses deduction, right, which is a form of rationale, not a form of logic. A lot of people misconstrued Holmes for being a logical thinker. And while he does apply logic occasionally, he doesn't. He uses observation and awareness to deduce. A guess. So you know when someone comes into a room and he's like, you've just come from the docks and you stopped off for a coffee along the way, and blah blah blah, and you know this kind of thing. You drunk like 3 o'clock yesterday morning, and you had tomato soup for dinner. That's because within a few seconds he has observed certain qualities about one's appearance. Whether it be the mud on the shoes or a bit of moss on the shoes, whether it's the tomato soup stain.
There you go.
That's dried on the lapel.
If there's a smell of alcohol or coffee or something.
Exactly. Or the watch is broken. I say like he will tell all this immediately and deduce an idea of what happened and is pretty much 99% accurate. We can all do that, but the greatest thing is its focus. It's a reminder. The idea of it, even though it's like Sherlock Holmes is a logical thinker, well, it just reminds me of focus. Like it's like always be aware, always observe. Don't always take things at face value. It's just fantastic. The stories are well constructed, great air of mystery. Sometimes they go to unnecessary places. Like you'll have this amazing mystery, and then they'll be like, "And here's the revelation," and like, and this is how you did it. And then they'll give backstory. They'll tell like a little story in the middle about what really happened, but they usually go way back too far, and you start reading like a whole different fucking novel about something you don't give a shit about because you've already solved the mystery. It's like when they do like on TV shows. What really irritates me is when you've got 24 episodes in a season or something like that, and you get halfway through and it decides to do a fucking flashback episode. You're like, just get on with it. You left me at a point I want to continue. Like, no, let's go back to before we even began. Why didn't you fucking start with that in the pilot? Oh, it just drives me nuts. Bloody hell, I love Holmes. Shakespeare!
Hey! Looks regal in itself, doesn't it, the book?
Yes.
Are you more of a Dickens or a Shakespeare man?
I am a Dickens man, mainly because Shakespeare wrote a lot more plays than he did novels or short stories or anything like that. So obviously everything that he has written is written in a very distinct style. that was even not even like in popular circulation even at the time.
Yeah,
It was basically,
true. Yeah, very true.
He invented a lot of words and sayings.
That's a huge impact on the English language itself.
His stories though are amazing. I prefer to watch them being portrayed on the stage than I do reading them. So I've got this more for reference and for the sake of the fact that I love his works.
Yeah, there's a reason a lot of his stories now have a translation next to them of sort of modern day English, because they are very difficult to get into.
You can actually see I've got some of the behind you there. I know they can't see my camera, but I have actually. You can see there's Hamlet, King Lear, Macbeth. I believe Midsummer Night's Tales up there as well, and a few others. And they're the BBC's productions of these, and I fucking love them. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. Hamlet's my favourite. I've always been a fan of Hamlet. Macbeth's okay. It's King Lear. I love King Lear. Like I said, Midsummer Night's Tales. I basically picked my favourites out. But fucking insane. We owe a lot to his work.
Absolutely.
When it comes to storytelling. It is tough because of the language, but I would argue that try to read one, but go watch a play, because you could see the thespians do it.
Well, that was what they were designed for, weren't they? They were designed for the stage and translated later, I suppose, for books and stuff, you know.
But I love the design of these. Wonderful to have.
Probably the most famous author in history. I would obviously Shakespeare would say.
So yeah, absolutely. Edgar Allan Poe.
There we go.
Yes. I have not read all of his stuff. I've read actually more of his poems than I have his tales. His tales are fine. I don't know. I feel like his poetry is on point of being the best poet next to Shakespeare.
Really?
If I have my way, I mean, we all know that The Raven is just incredible. But his tales I just found were. They've much been desired. There's some detective stuff in there. Holmes does it better. Even to be fair, even Agatha Christie does it a lot better.
Oh yeah. Are they horror? I know he's referred to as like horror lord and stuff, but again,
everything in here is more macabre.
Yeah.
It's all about loss and death, really, and it has a dark tone to it. I think it's gothic horror.
Yeah.
Gothic horror is something, again, it always misconstrued. Dracula is gothic horror.
Yeah.
There's nothing about Dracula that is ultimately horrifying.
True, yeah, very true.
Or fucking like gory or anything like that. It's about a man who seduces women and trains them on their fucking blood, basically. I suppose that's it, but he lives in an eerie castle.
Yeah,
and you don't know about his motives. And
he's not an outright killer. Yeah, he's not going on massacres and stuff. He's not summoning demons or anything.
Exactly,
absolutely right.
It's got nothing real, no element of real paranormal. And I know that sounds ridiculous because Bram Stoker does have some paranormal aspects to his tale. It still is a human being that with very limited powers as well.
Yeah. Would you consider Frankenstein quite similar to that then? Gothic
science
horror?
fiction.
Yeah.
Rather than horror.
Oh yeah, actually, it's a good point.
Raising the book,
reanimating the dead, I suppose.
Yeah. Even if you see the films, like where is the horror in
it's
there?
It's in a lab, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's an experiment.
Where is the horror? I feel like Edgar Allan Poe, it's easy to lump things into horror. It's just a macabre thing. It tells dark tales. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't. And last but not least, I showed it off at the beginning. Jules Verne, The Essential Collection.
Hey.
Jules Verne, very inspirational into the world of science fiction, much like H.G. Wells. Not just science fiction, but just telling great fucking adventure tales. You know. Just it doesn't say what's in here, but here we go. We've got 5 weeks in a balloon, a journey to the centre of the Earth, from Earth to the Moon, 20,000 leagues under the sea, around the world in 80 days. All included in this. You've probably heard those in Jules Verne. I think most people know Jules Verne as being that one that keeps getting referred to. Back to the Future. But his tales you probably recognise.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I think of the name Jules Verne, I get Doc in my head. I know it's not him, but it's just I associate him with the name.
Yeah, absolutely true. And so that's all of the Knickerbocker collection I have. I think I am only missing one. which is the Phantom of the Opera, the actual original.
That's very surprising for you.
Well, the reason was because I don't think it was actually ended up being printed.
Oh, that's probably why. Then,
if it did, it was in very limited quantity, and I'm not able to get hold of one. If so, I think it would be quite expensive. I don't know if they cancelled the line, and that was the only one, but it was advertised inside the other books with a little in-sleeve thing. And it's the only one in the collection that I never actually received because I could not find it.
A brilliant story
and it's
as well.
a shame.
Very
it's
sad
the only one I missed is Phantom of the Opera. So I'll leave you with this. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook myself to thinking, fancy unto fancy thinking, what this ominous bird of yore, not this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, never more.
Did you write that? No, joking.
Hey! Hey Eddie, I've got a good read.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
What is it?
It's the like and subscribe button down below. So I hope all the people at home don't Jekyll and Hyde away and actually end up going to click it, because otherwise it would be a strange case, this TAT being recorded and not really receiving the likes and the subscribes.
That was a long sentence. Yeah, just you can see it on screen. If you need your glasses, just make sure you look through the looking glass at the like and subscribe button.
Absolutely. And Tarzan very much for doing it.
We may be on the brink of the war of the worlds in the actual life, but come just subscribe, like and subscribe for more fun content.
And we don't want to Dracula into it, but we really appreciate it if you did take a bit of a stoker at it.
Oh God. Oh man.
These puns are being cobbled together into something of a Frankenstein's monster.
They really are. They really are. We don't want any. You don't want active participation. No lurkers or invisible men. Okay.
Hey. You don't want to. Even if you're stuck down a HG well, we feel you could probably still reach out and hit that like and subscribe button. Just even feeling anxious, just get out of your Mary Shelley and come and come and give us what we feel we might deserve from you.
Oi mate, you left without clicking the like button. Yeah, you did. Tom Sawyer.
That one was Oscar Wilde.
I think don't worry everyone. I think we're Huckleberry finished very soon.
I think we will be, because I'm getting rather sleepy in my hollow state.
I've got 2 left. Oh no. Oh no, you go. Oh no, I can't think of one now. I should be able to.
Well, that might be the last of the puns, but it's also the last of the Mohicans.
That's what I'm trying to think about.
We haven't got any more. So I think you've got one final message for everyone out there.
Just remember everyone, be kind, like and subscribe, treat everyone well, and don't just be a Moby Dick. All right.
Beowulf.